Hi, I'm Dean Sage.
And I'm Jack Curvin.
And this is Show Me Your Deck,
a podcast where we explore the intersections of oracles and chakras,
using our original decks to create new insights. I feel like a theme of our shows is technical fuckery. It's like the universe is like supportive of us in some ways, but like whoever, is in charge of electronics is like, maybe not these two. Maybe not right now.
This is the story of my life. I can literally go back to any age, whether we're learning how to use Commodore 64 at school. I know I just dated myself. And everybody's in the room will work, but not mine. It's me. It's not you. It's me. I attract mosquitoes and gremlins.
Oh my goodness, gremlins. I don't know, maybe the reading will be about gremlins. We had quite a few. I think we tried like every single extra setup, and then we think we found the problem. We think it might be something on your computer, but
we think it might be the fact that my cat got up on my desk and knocked my computer onto the floor. That's what we think it might be.
we don't think that's kitten magic though, do we? Like, kitten devilry.
That might be kitten black magic.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are here. We are going to attempt to get through this. And
well, here's one of the reasons why I use dice. I don't want my energy affecting which cards get pulled.
True.
So one of the ways I try to remove myself from the process is with these dice.
All right. Well, let's roll some dice.
All right. Let's see what the first card will be. We're going with deck number 4. That's going to be the haiku deck. And we're going to use card number 7, because this one comes up every other time we do a reading. So me trying to remove myself doesn't seem to matter because 7 comes up constantly. So as we all know by now, number 7 is Earth, Red, I am, and how it is affected by Crown, Ether, I know. And so if you can't recite this one just yet, here it is yet again. Bridging 2 dreamt realms. Me, deep mindful obelisk, my point, touching God.
I mean, I don't think we can get ourselves out of these readings. It's depending on what you think and believe, obviously there's going to be different explanations for it, but we are the channel through which things pour. But I like this because we need to consider the chakral alignments, and I think maybe both of us have had recent events that have maybe kind of put ourselves out of alignment. So I think this is just a good reminder right at the start to remember you are the rainbow bridge.
Yes, and we can probably go into that in the full version, but just know that yes, that is absolutely the way I'm accepting this card, is that from bottom to top, you have to remember to keep everything aligned. Even when you want to reach out and strangle somebody, you can't. Go to a dance class.
So what that kind of answers it. Like what kind of alignment activities do you think we might be leaning towards? Like what might one do?
Well, if one is me, one works on creative projects, one takes a break from spending too much time around other people, but not so much that one becomes a hermit. I would say that something that I have found helpful is what's called a secret mood shifter.
Ooh.
And that is a music playlist that is comprised of nothing but songs that when I hear them make me feel spontaneous joy. And I put that on shuffle so that when I play it, every single song is a genuine surprise and yet familiar. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to go do that, but to answer your question, whatever can give you an immediate reminder to be calm is something I would suggest, whether it's looking at colored lights or listening to music or going for a walk, something that removes you from the source of stress as much as possible and allows you to simply focus your own thoughts. I know that's basic bitch advice, but sometimes cliches are cliches because they're true.
Well, no, I had not thought of the playlist. I'm weird. I do listen to music. I have a vinyl collection that I've started. That's sort of my middle age thing. I got a record player for Christmas, and I've
Like vinyl record player?
Vinyl record player. Got a record player for Christmas. And
my chakras are aligned right now. Okay, tell me more.
all of my gift ideas on Amazon are all vinyls that I would appreciate, someone getting me at one point in time. So it's great. I don't have to go through what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas? What do you I don't have to do that anymore. I went and I spent about 2 hours and found on Amazon all the cool little things that I would appreciate, and I put them in one list. And now every time it's like, what do you want? Here's the list.
Polyvinyl acetate. That's what I want.
Here's the list.
Whether it's boots or records, honey, lay it on me.
But I don't immediately go to music. I have to kind of get in a zone where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to music. Like in the mornings, I usually listen to podcasts when I drive, and that's, it's good. It kind of keeps my brain engaged in a way that doesn't let me focus on the fact that I'm in traffic. But I do put on music every once in a while, but it's not something like I would not have thought of that, but that's actually a great way to realign. And in this case, I think you're working with your heart chakra, which is the middle of the bridge. You're kind of bringing that one into exercise and movement. And, maybe that's kind of resetting or reinvigorating things. So I wouldn't have gone to a music playlist. I think that's an excellent idea. And
okay, well, so just a step above basic bitch then.
Yes. Well, we are talking about getting back to basics. I mean, aligning your chakras is a basic thing. I'm curious out there, obviously, if you're listening, share with us your own ideas on how you align yourself. I have a little spell, I guess, that I wrote that I'll use, especially at night when I'm feeling quite out of it and very, very unaligned and maybe fearful. And it says it's source come down, circle round and round. And in this sphere, I shall not fear. And I imagine white light, white energy coming down from above and sort of pulsing through my chakras and aligning root to crown and kind of giving me that energy in there. And then I imagine that sort of sphere, of protection expanding outward. And oftentimes that will kind of help me realign, because I'll kind of look at bringing ether, as you call it, down into my body, down to the root, kind of feeling the safety of the root chakra, and then letting the other ones sort of be filled with energy at that time. So that's kind of something I've done for the last couple of years, and it's been effective at kind of key moments.
Yeah, so mantras and little phrases that are easy to remember that are encouraging, that's a good idea. There's a class that I teach called the Breathing Oracle, and it's similar to what you've just described. It is 49 minutes of mindful breathing patterns, wherein as we move through the chakras and we look at their colors and their qualities, we're also looking at the meters associated with the drumming and the phrasing of breathing. And it's an opportunity to focus on breath, which regulates your system, but also I personally don't like breath work that's just, I'm breathing. I mean, that's fine. It's definitely got its absolute amazing place in the pantheon of different options. But I like to use it as a time to meditate specifically on a mantra. And then looking at how that mantra does or does not change, adjust, evolve in intersection with various cards that I pull from the deck as we're going from the root all the way up to the crown. Now, that's not a quick process, but it's something to consider that when you refocus back on breathing and allow your literal oxygen levels to come back into balance, that helps to restabilize your hormones and bring your heart rate back down. And all of these physical sensations that you're feeling are part of what trigger what's happening in your head in the first place. So if you can soothe the body, it helps to soothe the mind.
That's a good note. And I think that's the way that I view this obelisk. I think no matter what's going on, you need to ground yourself. Like grounding activities are very, 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 very helpful in psychology. We talk about grounding yourself in the moment. There's like the notice I forget exactly the order it goes in, but it's like notice 3 colors and 2 sounds and 5 feelings.
I've heard of this. Yeah.
It's a grounding technique. It brings you
Mm-hmm.
right back to your body, and then I think beyond that, I think you need to bring it down to your root. So it's okay. It's good to come back to your body, but I think you need to go sink down to your root, because that's where safety and security and fear really oppose each other. And a lot of what is happening is a fear reaction, and being able to kind of overcome that with that sense of groundedness and safety, and then I think you can activate the rest. I think if you don't get over the safety fear hump, you're stuck, because your body is going to be constantly on edge, and it's going to rise up, right? It's going to activate the upper chakras more, and you're going to be anxious and fearful, and you're going to be out of sorts. You don't feel like you've got the ground beneath you. So I think that's an important thing. Like the obelisk has the ground beneath it. Even though it's stretching up as a spire, it's very much grounded and rooted. And I think that's an important part of whatever process that you do. Make sure that it allows you to come back. Like they always say, go and touch grass, right? I mean, what they're saying is try to return your focus and your balance to the earth, to what's below you. Sitting on the floor, awesome. Like sometimes you just need to sit on the floor. Lay on the floor. They actually the study came out recently that was like, yeah, laying on the floor actually helps. Like, yeah, we know.
Thanks for reconfirming that for the 3,000th time. Who paid for this study?
Yes, we knew that, because especially if you're neurodivergent, I think you figured that out a long time ago, that sometimes you just need to lay on the floor. That's fine. That's great.
It's literal stillness.
Yeah. Noticing the breath.
So I suppose the way we're contextualizing the upcoming reading is to be mindful of the way in which you remain balanced while still aspiring towards personal growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that summation. I'm gonna reach into my deck, and let's see what we got here. Some energy. Okay, here we are. All right, we have the source of waves. That's a really good place to go. So this is the source of waves. This is also the Queen of Cups in the tarot. Become the deep water from which all waves flow.
Has this one come up before?
Mm-hmm.
This is our 20th episode, so some of these are going to show up again, but that sounds familiar.
I mean, I have 78 options, but obviously the energies bring out similar cards. But this is great, because this is mastering the second chakra. Mm-hmm. That's what this card means. So the Queen of Cups in the tarot, I removed gender from my tarot associations, so I tried to rename the court cards. I don't really like the queen has these feminine features and the king has these masculine features. I think that they both have features, but I don't think that they're tied to a gender, and I don't think we need to talk about them in a gendered fashion. So for me, the source is about realizing that all these things that you've experienced in the suit, all of these back and forth, ebb and flow, all of these deep waters of emotions that you've been wading through and learning to understand and balance, and those kind of things all really stem from inside of you and from your second chakra. So this is a chance to return to the chakra. So we've activated the root and the crown, and now it's like, okay. And I think this is perfect, because once you have done that activation of the root and the crown and really kind of grounded yourself, now you need to deal with whatever may have upset you or set you off or put you in that place. And this is basically saying, become the deep water from which all waves flow. So allow yourself to kind of fall into that, realize that, the waves are coming from the deep, from where everything kind of settles. And it's dark down there, right? It's hard to kind of pierce our emotions. Our emotions are oftentimes, they feel unknown to us, but this is an opportunity to let your feelings, like your feeling, intuition, I think is highly tied to this. Allow yourself to really be still in those deep waters. The waves are above you, they're crashing, they're turning, they're receding, they're flowing, but sink down into the deeper waters, and all those things kind of become more peripheral, and you have a chance to kind of understand them and interact with them in a less volatile way. So on the surface, everything seems so out of turn and huge walls of waves. But if you go down just a little bit, it's like a breeze. It's
much more serene.
Yeah, and there's beauty even in the depths.
And just think, down there in the depths are where those horrifying fish live.
Yes.
And they like dangle little lights around. No, we're not going to go there. I understand the meaning of the card. But I'm just in one of those ordinary moments where it's like, but what about the monsters?
Well, I mean, that is something that you do have to face, is that there are, things and emotions that are on the surface, right? And then there are deep things that, hide in your darkness. And that's why sexuality is tied to this chakra as well. Because, I mean, kinks are a manifestation of those deep kind of desires, those deep feelings, and you get them out in ways that are maybe hard to understand by others, hard to understand by yourself. So yeah, there are little monsters, big monsters. There's things down in the depths of your emotions that you also have to process. And part of the becoming the deep water is accepting those as well. So all of your emotion, all of the whole range of it, all of the feelings that you have, even if they're antisocial or bad or wrong, they still exist. They're there. They're part of you. Like wanting to strangle someone is part of you. You don't do it, but having that urge, having that anger, that frustration that leads you to that point, it's real in feelings. It has a reality that you can't escape.
The emotional ecosystem that is you. You are the ocean.
Surface
and
and
all
deep.
of these things live inside you, and it's all part of an ecosystem.
And being able to channel those and understand them and utilize them, it leads to a healthy place. Again, I try to devoid sexual things as well from this, but they exist in a positive, balanced way, I think.
And in terms of the opening context, going through this process is part of what will help you be aligned and stable and able to aspire towards the heights, is dealing and contending and accepting with this emotional ecosystem.
So, it allows you to be free and open with your life, your emotions, your sexuality, all of that coming together, allowing it to integrate and be calm and still while still understanding that it exists. And then you're always going to have the surface emotions. There's always going to be that ebb and flow, but realizing that it doesn't control you, that you are the source of it, gives you sort of a peace that you can sink into.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's roll a dice and let's see where we go next.
Let's roll the tetrahedron. I love that word. Tetrahedron.
Tetrahedron.
Tetrahedron. It's almost like a hedonistic word. Tetrahedron. All right. Number 2. This is the most literal of the decks. It's the professions themselves. So deck number 2, card number 28. So 28. Oh, okay. I love this one. This is heart chakra, green, wood, and how it is affected by I do, yellow, fire. So how the way we form connections with people is affected by the actions we actually take. I profess that I love to give and receive thriving energy.
As you notice, we're building the bridge from bottom to top.
Because now we've got
third and fourth.
We've got all of them. So we have root, sacral chakra. Here we have the solar plexus and the heart. So we're just going tick, 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 tick,
tick, tick, tick, all the way up. But this one is about giving and sharing of energy. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
So being in flow and the solar plexus, action, and then the heart, for me is peace, love, and joy mixed with grief it's kind of an ever-changing balance between those. And so the sharing and giving of energies is a very important piece to how that chakral combination works. And you have a very outward focus for this, you said, right? It's giving to others and receiving from others.
Yes, it's an exchange, which is an important component of the heart component in general. It's about connection. And this is the process of not only feeling connected with people, but interacting with them.
Bringing that energy into yourself, projecting that energy outward.
Mm-hmm. In the book, or the haiku, or however you want to consume the material, the image for this is photosynthesis, I believe.
Mm-hmm. No, I can see that.
I think the photo is of a hand or two hands cupping a bunch of really rich black soil with a little plant sprouting out of it.
Oh, that's lovely. I like that. That's a very calming energy, but it's a expression of the interplay of the two ideas, right? So the energy of the sun, the energy of the plant, the soil, the interplay of the two.
When I was mentioning the breathing exercise earlier in this episode, I mentioned that you have your mantra, whatever that is, and how it adjusts or evolves or not based on the intersection with various professions. Number 28 is one of the 7 that I use in that class. The idea being that if you accomplish this mantra, how does it not only benefit you, how does it nourish people around you, so that this, whatever your mantra is, whatever your goal is, how does it improve? How by improving your situation do you then go on to improve others, so that it is not necessarily a singularly selfish mantra? It can still benefit you, of course, but in what ways can your mantra help the people around you as well?
The thing that I'm hearing here is, while you're realigning, which is a very internal exercise a lot of the times, like what we talked about at the beginning, listening to your music, breathing, doing your own breathing, sitting on the floor. All of these things are ways that you work individually to do this. But I think, when we get to the higher chakras, we have to face that there is external, I can't think of, that's not a good word.
Externality.
Is that a word? Did I make it up? Okay, I didn't make it up. Yeah. Externality to that process, where we do have to align with other people and eventually with the cosmic other. And again, depending on what you believe, there might be a source. Like I said in my little spell mantra that I use, I talk about a source, and I think of, the pleasing images, like, the mothers that came before us, kind of a thing. That love, that expression of peace and joy that relationship brings to the early infancy of your life. And I think that we, have to, as we rise up, we do have to contend with others. And I think the heart chakra is a great place to do that, because it is so motivated by other things that are happening. Love itself is a dance, a communication, a contact between you and something else, pet, partner, what have you.
The heart is also the halfway point between root and crown. So finding balance here can really give you a sense of center from which to reach out in both directions.
I love the color green here too, even though I didn't use it in my deck. Green I used for the root, for the very reason that you use the plant here. Is that rootedness? That rootedness, yeah. I use green down there. I use actually red for this one, which I think you and I debated at one point if it was too on the nose. But in the tarot, there's a very striking card, the 3 of Swords, that is a heart pierced by 3 swords, and it's been a pretty consistent image through most of the old tarot, and it's striking. It's very striking, and it speaks to something about the heart chakra that is hard to put into words. But it's that idea of love, but then love pierced by grief or by other things, other feelings and emotions. And so this is a key balance point. So I think in our message here, this is a time, a chance for you to, as you're doing your grounding and rising up your chakras and aligning yourself, to remember that it's not in isolation, that it is in partnership, and you can get that energy from others. Don't steal it or take it, right? We're not being psychic vampires here. We're not using other people to ground ourselves, which is something people do, and you might even do it without realizing it. People start fights to alleviate their own imbalances within themselves.
Yeah.
There's a emotional response, a hormonal response, neurotransmitters, all these kind of things that you try to use to balance. Drugs fall into this as well. You might use a substance. You might get a drink in an attempt to work on this, but I think that might be pulling you away. I think that's staying in a solo action and trying to overcome your sense of unbalance, your sense of unease with something external that's not an exchange, a positive exchange of energy. So where you might be like, it's been a hard day, I need a drink. Maybe this, reading in particular is telling you pause on that. Come
you
back
might need
to that
something,
later.
but it's not something toxic, because it doesn't matter if you like alcohol or not. Alcohol is toxic. It is. That's how it functions in the body. And if you're trying to find balance, that's not the way to do it.
So look for a connection. Maybe this is where you call a friend, or
or lay on the floor and breathe.
Yeah.
Well, with this card, there's connection involved. So lay on the floor and call your friend.
Lay on the floor and there you go. On my rides home, I talk to my friend Lisa all the time.
Yeah.
And
Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa. It's a very grounding experience because we are very similar and we bring alignment to each other, and it's a very positive experience, and it's really the quality time that we spend together. But I'm ADD, so like when I get home, I don't like to do phone calls, but when I'm in the car, I do. So I try to use that opportunity and that part of my brain to create connection. But no, there is something wonderful about that, and just being able to express something to someone else and having them actually listen. I mean, it's why therapy works. They did studies, they cross-tabulated theories and procedures, and out of all of the things that they found that could possibly be done in therapy or techniques and all of that, the number one component of why therapy was effective for people was that somebody was listening to you and you felt heard.
Yeah, that's an exceptionally important theme in the novel I'm working on. The idea that conflicts arise when people refuse to hear each other.
That's literally what happens.
In scripture, there's a portion where God is angry at the Hebrews yet again. And I'm paraphrasing, something to the effect that you will cry unto me and I will not hear you. And that concept works its way through the whole novel. And yeah, looking at talk therapy, knowing that you're being heard or seen or all the above, acknowledged, is really important, because then you have the opportunity to, exist as someone besides yourself.
And that energy that comes from without in a positive fashion can really help spark you. I think as much as I talk about the source, and that's, for me, that's a very individual moment, because it's usually happening in, times where I'm feeling very out of control, or very, very ungrounded, very unbalanced. This is a time to remember, once you deal with your fear, right? Once you overcome your fear and allow your emotions to settle, or at least simmer rather than boil, you do need then to interact with others, but only then. I think that's why this card came up here. It's like, you can't just immediately run to someone and trauma dump, and
No.
that might make you feel better, but you've just,
Now
splayed
you've
this.
just, well, my turn of phrase is you've inflicted yourself on someone.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
I try not to inflict myself on people as much as I can. I'm very cognizant of that. And I just be aware of when you might be inflicting yourself on someone.
So, but I think part of that comes from the fear. And if you master the fear, if you feel the safety, right? So if you lay on the ground, if you become grounded and realize your safety, realize where you are. And of course, many people have the privilege of being able to feel safe and others don't. And that's a traumatic experience all its own. But once you're kind of able to feel the now, to feel the present and feel secure in the present, then you can go and exchange energy, and it's a give and a take.
Yep. So this is a series of reminders to ground yourself, look at the emotional depths, understand they are coming from you, but that everything within that is part of you. And then you can begin to sink beneath those waves and let some stuff just go by overhead. You don't have to deal with everything necessarily. And then you can start focusing your intentions and actions and start interacting with people. Is that kind of how this is being contextualized?
I think that's where we're headed.
It's nice and neat how they're just going right up from the bottom, right, building right up. It's really it's very cute.
Cute.
It's very demure. It's very mindful.
Well, we turned around, so I just pulled the 10 of seeds. Okay. So we went back to the root chakra, but this is an important one. So it says, your seeds given to others will grow for generations. Your seeds given to others will grow for generations. So this is the 10 of Pentacles in the tarot. And that's kind of a...
Okay, my immediate response to that is that as you're interacting with people, with all this rich energy and wood and sunlight and all the rest, now you're bringing soil back into it. Read that one more time.
Your seeds given to others will grow for generations.
So being mindful to not inflict yourself on people, make sure the seeds you're giving to people aren't weeds. Make sure that the seeds you're giving them are fruits, something that will thrive and not become bramble patches. Because to your point, the seeds you give people will grow. So what are the seeds you're actually sharing? Before you interact with people, make sure that you're in a place to do so from a place of wellness and health and kindness.
That would be a very balanced nature of this card, because it, like I said, it's the 10 of Pentacles. It talks about generativity and generations, and I take it as the seeds growing and continuing to grow. So the things that you've cultivated in your life will continue in others' lives. Mm-hmm. So there's the idea of family and children kind of tied to this card, but it doesn't have to be literal generativity. I think we're both in a position where we won't have literal descendants to pass things on to. But these things that we're doing now, this podcast, the decks that we've made, the stories that we've written and published or will soon publish, these are all seeds that we're preparing for others, and they'll continue to grow. Maybe in small audiences, maybe in large, we'll see. But
we shall see.
But
they will grow.
They will grow. I've written things, and people have read things that I've written, and I've seen that kind of come back, and that's gratifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet.
So we return to the root chakra, I think, for a very specific purpose here, which is, we were just talking about exchanging of energies. If you're going to rise above the heart chakra, you start to get into, deeper questions. So for me, the four suits of the tarot are the first four chakras, and then the major arcana are the next three chakras, and they speak of larger things. So they're not dealing so much with these direct dichotomies. They are about, like the throat chakra, it's about how you communicate. Do you tell the truth? Do you lie? And do you lie to yourself? And do you hide yourself, or do you show yourself? So these are higher activations. Some people call them higher energies. So I think before you get there, you need to be able to have a really strong generative point of view so that as you begin to interact with others and eventually interact with, source, God, whatever it may be, you are well prepared. Your first four chakras are well aligned, well activated, and working in concert with each other. So even in this card, there's an idea of family and love and connection, and that kind of brings up the first four chakras and then leads into those higher energies, those higher frequencies.
Yep. Yeah, this is a very, it's a very nurturing reading today. It's a very patient reading. Lots of patient reminders.
It's a chance to just reconnect with yourself. I think if you're hearing this, just take a moment. And we were just talking earlier about conflict being when people stop listening to each other. I think maybe you've stopped listening to yourself, and this is that reminder to return inward, return to opening your eyes and your ears and your feelings and your emotions, and just considering where you're at. I know this happens to me all the time. I've been very bad at doing tarot independently of this podcast. So I haven't really done, good readings for myself and journaled in some time. I just got out of the habit because I was so engaged with work. And I think, I just realized the other day I was in a bad position. It was what was necessary at the time. We were on the verge of being homeless. Like I needed a job. So I took one. Not a good job, not the right job. But it developed in me very, present habits. Like I felt I had to justify every moment of my existence. And so I would take notes. I would take copious notes, everything that I did during the day. I would note. Found bullet journaling, which is a positive thing. Don't let me tell you it isn't a positive thing. I think a lot of people get a lot out of it. But I've just realized recently, like that compulsive need to journal, what I do is a compulsive need to validate my existence.
I don't know what bullet journaling is, but what it sounds like to me is what I, for many, many years, was doing as an accomplishment journal rather than a to-do list. And I would write down what I'd done each day because it was getting to the point where I couldn't remember what I'd done during the day, let alone yesterday or 2 days ago. And so it was a way of letting me see that I had been productive and I'd done this, and I'd done this, and I'd done this. But what I found that it was not helpful was that on days when I wasn't getting much done, I felt obliged to make anything into this big item to put on my list. It's like, I changed out the paper towels in the kitchen.
I don't want you to speak that way of that, because for some people that is the big thing of the day, and that's good. That's fine. When you're deep in depression, pulling a comb through your hair is a major accomplishment. So don't underplay your depressive episodes where that was like we talked about spoons. I think everybody knows what spoons are. If you don't, it was a metaphor. I think a parent with ADD children came up with it, but it's the idea that most people have hundreds of spoons every day, but neurodivergent people have 10 or 12. And so asking them to asking a child with ADD to focus on schoolwork all day long, they only have so many spoons of energy that they can spend. And once they're spent, they have no more spoons to give. So if you're low on spoons day, then, doing the laundry, that's big. I still don't fold my laundry.
I finally got the laundry out of the dryer the other day. So I I understand. The point I was going to make is that something that I found unhelpful with it eventually was, to your point, trying to justify everything I was doing, that, see, I have value. I got this done. And on those lower productive days, I felt compelled to make anything into an accomplishment. But what I have found since then that has helped me is I now color code my calendar. And when I do something that I feel is interesting, I'll put it on my calendar. So instead of bullet journaling, I use my chakra colors to assign a color to what I've done, so that at a glance I can see which of the energies I'm neglecting or not. Like, is this day like yellow everywhere and no red, or one that I'm always lacking is purple, unfortunately. But when I can look at the day and see that, it's like, oh, I got these 3 red items done and these 2 greens, and so I'm socializing. And okay, oh, that's good. Where's the purple? One of the challenges for me with purple, spiritual, crown, is that so much of what I do already is in some way connected to that. And I probably would have a lot more purple on my calendar, except that I want to reserve purple for the stuff I do specifically for my spiritual growth, not necessarily the activities I'm doing with clients or students. I put that under yellow, under activity, or blue for teaching. So I need to take more time to be specific about my own crown and not everybody else's.
I definitely neglect my own crown. It's one of the things that falls away very quickly, and it's because of chakral alignments. I get stuck in lower chakras. For about 6 months of the one job leading into the bad job, I was at a daily fear. I was at a daily fear because I could see the wheels turning against me. And so, and I kept that fear. I kept that fear through the bad job, and then now I've got a good job, and I get praises. The big boss yesterday pulled me aside and gave me huge praises, and I think this is a good reminder that you have to set the fear aside. You have to come to safety, and whatever it takes to get there, you have to do, because to your point with the seeds, if you're unbalanced, if you're out of balance in your root chakra, you will spread brambles and weeds, and you will inflict yourself on others because you are looking for anything to give you grounding, and you're looking in all the wrong places. And I think that's an important part of where we're at right now in this kind of rebuilding our rainbow bridge, coming to that very clear conclusion that we are ready to connect and we are okay. It's just, you're okay. Everything is okay. And being able to really feel that at this point will help to align and correct the flow of all the energies that we've just been talking about.
I love this reading.
Let's put a capstone on it. Let's see what we've got left.
All right. Staying with the professions, deck number 2. Okay. Well, do I count this? It got stuck on something. It's not really laying flat, and I've decided that it's this number. Do I roll again, or do I keep
Trust
this
your
number?
intuition.
I think that I want to roll it again, and I'll tell you why. Because I had to nudge it to make it sit flat, and that was number 1 of 49. And it's like, I feel like we've talked enough about the root, and I want to go somewhere else.
I mean, then again, maybe we need to.
Roll again.
Let's see what happens.
Let me roll it again. I don't feel that one. That one felt like there was interference.
Okay.
42.
Okay.
All right. 42. 42. Where is it? Okay. So this one, it's a beautiful card. It's where Aqua. Okay. This is third eye, where it's met by the throat. So this is blue and water being touched by aqua and air. So I see as it's affected by I say, the way in which you perceive the world and learn and share information, and how it's affected by the way you express yourself. I profess that I see my knowledge and ideas as valuable gifts to share. I profess that I see my knowledge and ideas as valuable gifts to share.
I mean, literally, we've built the rainbow bridge. We have all of them.
We?
Yep. We have root.
Yeah.
All the way up to crown.
The only color missing from my cards is orange, and you covered that with your sacral chakra with waves, right?
Yep.
Well, look at that. It's a good thing I re-rolled the dice.
Well, this one I think just encapsulates what we were speaking of with the giving of the energy, the sharing of the energy, the giving to others, the experience of others, and just what I was saying a minute ago with the higher energies, the higher frequencies being more involved with the interplay of ourselves with others, and hopefully coming to the realization that we are the other is us, some sort of enlightenment, some sort of balanced connection between us and the universe in a way that makes sense and gives comfort and gives peace. So, yeah, I like where we're at. What do you think?
I'm just looking at the cards. It's like red, no orange, but you have sacrum, yellow, green, aqua. Yeah, that's the entire. With your card included, that runs the entire. That's all 7 of them.
All
That
7
runs
chakras.
the whole gamut.
Yeah.
And they came up in order.
Yep, we rose right up.
I mean, that's so.
People are going to listen to this and think that we made it happen.
No,
we did
no.
not.
I mean, maybe I should have stuck with the one that got rolled. The profession on that is I profess that I am the stuff of eternity. I mean, if you want to include it because it's what came up, quote unquote, first, then that brings us back around to the beginning where number 7 was being rooted and grounded. This is literally the first card of my entire deck. But
well, it's a spiral for me, at least. When I think of the journey through the tarot, I think of it as the celestial's journey, and they emerge from ether, from out of non-existence into existence as we know it. And they begin this inward spiral going through the lessons of the chakras again and again and again as they spiral ever deeper, ever closer, but like a limit in calculus, never really reaching, because that's the moment of enlightenment, and at which point you're done. You're off the spiral. So the spiral moves ever inward, and I think that the fact that we kind of had like a pseudo 1 of 49, and I am the stuff of eternity. That it brings us right back home, and I think that's important. Is that as much as you build your bridge, as much as you align your chakras, they're going to constantly be challenged by forces, internal and external, that seek to unbalance them, and it's a tenuous balance. You have to kind of walk and hold 7 cups, balanced on top of each other at the same time, and it takes effort, but it is okay, because you're going to circle back to the beginning again and again, and learn new things when you get there. Every time you ground yourself, you're improving your ability to do so, but also hopefully learning more about yourself and what tips you out of balance and what pushes on different parts of your alignment.
I'm glad you called it cyclical instead of circular. Because I think sometimes people consider cycles to be flat circles, but if you're really going higher or deeper or both or whatever, then every spring is not the same spring. Every summer is not the same summer. Every birthday is not the same. You might come around to a similar point, but it's not the same spot. It is a spiral.
Well, it's a lie told by storytellers, because we talk about the circle story. I love circle stories, but they're not circle stories, because it would not be meaningful to us if the character ended up in the exact same spot that they started.
They're spiral stories.
They're spiral stories, exactly. Because the characters learn something going through the seasons, going through the year. There's something new that came out of it, and they are different. They are changed.
And spirals are 3-dimensional, so it's interesting. So the accidental one still fits perfectly. But I don't know. I felt compelled to re-roll, and
then we got
more the whole set.
Yeah.
So bring awareness back around to that. Okay. So being mindful of what you share and be mindful of what you grow doesn't mean that you don't share anything out of fear that it will be something You might think that what you're sharing is a bramble when it's a rose bush. And you won't know that until you discuss it with somebody.
This happened to me, and I'll talk about it in the members only segment. This happened to me recently. Again, it's something that keeps repeating with my creativity. So remind me about that when we get to the members.
Okay, so I'll say bramble rose bush, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Bramble rose bush, yep.
Bramble rose bush. So here we are, trying to nourish people, trying to interact with them, trying to share seeds that will grow into something fruitful and beautiful. Sometimes messing up, sometimes it's a bramble, but you don't withhold everything out of fear that you might do something wrong. That's the whole point of conversation. That's the whole point of exchanging ideas. I see my knowledge and ideas as valuable gifts to share. And in that way, you tend this garden. You make sure that that what you planted is growing where it's supposed to be. And you don't have to do that by yourself. It is a conversation, and then the knowledge grows even deeper.
We have the complete set. We have the knowledge, the interplay, the interaction, the deeperness. We've got the spiral. We've got the journey. I think that's a good place to leave us with the understanding that you were out of balance, right? That's where we started. It was a reminder that you were out of balance. It's time to come back. But don't judge yourself for being out of balance. Don't judge the process that brought you there. Understand it, investigate it, be curious about it. Look for the causes, maybe the triggers, whatever it is that led this out of balance moment to where you had to completely realign, where nothing was in place. It's okay that happened. That is part of the journey. It doesn't mean that you're lacking. It just means that you're alive.
Mm-hmm. And these starts and stops and shuffles and rebalances, it's all just part of the cyclical process.
We have a members-only version of the podcast that you can get on Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe there. And we just had actually quite a long segment where we talked about how the reading affected us, and we talked about our creativity and our own chances to balance our chakras and how that affects our creativity and how we deal with our bipolar. So yeah, we have a member segment. We encourage you to subscribe. That helps support us. And that also gives you an opportunity to kind of hear how the readings affect us personally. We do have a YouTube Show Your Deck on YouTube. There is the podcast there where we have videos that you can look at the beautiful cards. We talk about them. And we also are in the process of uploading our deck videos, so videos of our decks and us using our decks to the YouTube so that you can experience them as well, get some more insight into the decks that we create, and hopefully buy some. Our books, which leads me to say that our books and our decks are available at showyourdeck.com. You can get links to buy the decks, links to buy the book. My book is available on Kindle Unlimited for free, and Jack's book is available directly from Jack because you want to get it from him so that you get it signed, you get it in the right format, you get the very pretty version of it. It's just much better to get it from Jack. So do
my
that.
autograph is so cool too. You really need to see my autograph. Buy my book
Buy
from
my
me.
Book. Buy it. And then you can get paperback and hardback versions of my book on Amazon if you prefer to have a physical copy. I understand because I also prefer to have a physical copy. Jack, where can we find you?
I'm at 49 Haiku, the number 4, the number 9, HAIKU. So the site is 49haiku.com and Instagram is at 49haiku. I
am Dean Sage Media where I am. I'll just leave it at that. Dean Sage Media. You can find me. I'm pretty active on Instagram. And I just don't go on X and Threads all that much. So if you really wanted to message me somewhere where I'll see it, it would be Instagram. Our show is at Your Deck on Instagram, and you can leave us little messages there. We need to get better at curating it and putting stuff up there. I'm hoping my friend Lisa will help us with that because I definitely do not have all the time in the world to do that. But yeah, we'll say goodbye for now.